How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 1.
Can we talk about Epstein Island for journalists? Seriously. Well, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. So when you pay attention to the Epstein Island stories, and Congress has now sent the legislation on to the president, it's a veto-proof majority, but he says he'll sign it. There is a provision. We have now the forever conspiracy. The legislation has a provision that allows the Attorney General to block the release of any information that could compromise national security or current prosecutions. The Democrats are already saying Donald Trump is going to use this to cover himself up and the GOP. Actually, what's going on here is even Abby Phillips on CNN noted last night that when Donald Trump was friends with Epstein, he was a Democrat. Epstein was friends with a bunch of Democrats. And now the Democrats got to say, well, they're covering up the Republicans because, well, there aren't going to be as many Republicans as Democrats. And the Democrats have finally figured it out. They kind of fell into a trap on this sort of stuff as the information comes out. One of those is the Virgin Islands delegate, Stacey Plaskett. She's on CNN, said he was a constituent. I only talked to him because he was a constituent. He had already gotten out of prison for the child pedophile stuff. And she's like, he was only a constituent. No, that's not true at all. But no one at CNN wanted to push the issue. Hakeem Jeffries, we now know he solicited money. That's in the emails. He's like, I never did that. And it's CNN is blue washing all of these people that they come on, wash them in their partisan blue and say, we absolve you of having been anywhere near Jeffrey Epstein. Bring on the list of Republicans. Larry Summers is expendable. Bill Clinton is expendable, but Hakeem Jeffries, and of all people, a non-voting delegate from the Virgin Islands. The Democrats and the media are pouring massive amounts of assistance into helping Stacey Plaskett, who has long been rumored to have aided Jeffrey Epstein in the Virgin Islands. There are lots of questionable ties, and she's like, no, he was just a constituent, and the media's like, okay. Which gets me then to the media and Epstein Island, because what was Epstein Island? Epstein Island was a place where the rich, the wealthy could go do hedonistic things, and they'd all cover for each other, and it didn't matter what their party was. It didn't matter if they were Republican. It didn't matter if they were Democrat. It didn't matter if they were Libertarian or Socialist or Communist or any other political party. Labor Party in Great Britain, a lot of the Labor Party people hanging out with Epstein. It didn't matter. They were just rich, wealthy deviants. And Jeffrey Epstein catered to them, and they protected each other. And it was a buddy-buddy, chummy PR network. So yesterday at the White House, Mary Bruce is the insensitive AB News reporter who is yelling questions to the president about Jeffrey Epstein and about Jamal Khashoggi to MBS of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. And the rest of me is like, you go, girl. Yes, queen. Yes, queen. You go, girl. Caitlin Collins on CNN, who allowed Hakeem Jeffries to defend himself from the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, is like, she's such a boss. She's such a professional. Mary Bruce she's my girl. Mary Bruce pre-submitted a question to Joe Biden during his administration. She was one of the reporters who collaborated with the Biden administration to submit questions for the Biden administration. We've got the photos. If you followed me on Twitter, I got up the screenshot last night. In fact, let me scroll through my Twitter feed here. I can pull this up. credit to Red Steez. That is the other Stephen Miller who got the photograph of Mary Bruce, who was named on one of the Biden note cards, who there's actually the picture of her. And it's a picture, it says question 3. And what it is a summation of what her question was going to be to Joe Biden. And the bullet points Joe Biden would need to know to respond to Mary Bruce. Now, Red Steez is the guy who I give credit for this. That's his user account name. His actual name is Stephen Miller, and he has been all over this. I can't keep up with this stuff. I don't know if it's his mind or he's got a database, but he's able to pull this stuff up quick. And yeah, here's you got the cards. The first one is Courtney Subramanian. I know her last name is Subramanian because it's spelled out phonetically on Joe Biden's Q&A. Question 1, Courtney Subramanian, Foreign Policy, Semiconductor Manufacturing. Question 3, Mary Bruce, ABC News. How do you view the path forward? How do you think about your place in history? You and your are in all caps and bold. And then another question on Speaker McCarthy of the debt limits. Depending on what happens with the House vote on the Speaker's debt limit bill tomorrow, how do you anticipate moving forward? She asked the third question. And I read you the note card. What it said on the note card. Let's hear how that was the summation of the question. How do you view this? How do you do whatever? Listen.
You recently launched your re-election campaign. You've said questions about your age are legitimate, and your response is always, just watch me. But the country is watching, and recent polling shows that 70% of Americans, including a majority of Democrats, believe you shouldn't run again. What do you say to them? What do you say to those Americans who are watching and aren't convinced? You've said you can beat Trump again. Do you think you're the only one?
I may not be the only one, but I know him well, and I know the danger he presents to our democracy, and we've been down this road before. And with regard to age, and polling data, I noticed the polling data I keep hearing about is
now,
that
while this happens, Joe Biden is shuffling to the next question.
I'm between 42 and 46% favorable rating, et cetera, and. But everybody running for re-election in this time has been in the same position. There's nothing new about that. You're making it sound like Biden's really underwater, number one. Number two, when the same polling data asks whether they think what kind of job I've done, it gets overwhelmingly positive results, from 58% thinking everything from the
We can go on from there. So she asks a rephrased person, how do you view your path forward? She asks a rephrased question, but then she went on, and I don't have the video clip of this one, but she did get to ask the follow-up question. Depending on what happens with the House vote on Speaker's debt limit bill tomorrow, how do you anticipate moving forward? Mary Bruce got to ask that question. In fact, we get this in the transcript. And it's very interesting, in fact, that she cooperated with the White House. She got to ask a revised version of the pre-submitted question. Then she got to ask almost the identical version of the Kevin McCarthy, what do you do with the House legislation? She cooperated with the White House. Where's the accountability? It's Epstein Island for journalists. The journalists can get away with pretty much anything. They're rehabilitating Olivia Nuzzi. The New York Times is doing some sort of profile. The headline, Olivia Nuzzi did it all for love. The former political journalist has written a combustive portrait of America, President Trump, and the scandal with Robert Kennedy that upended her career. From Jacob Bernstein in the New York Times. Can you imagine your goal is to rehabilitate her, complete with Vanity Fair style photo shoot? He even writes for the style section. The first one's a video of her with her driving a convertible, her hair blowing in the wind. Olivia Nuzzi loved him. She loved the politician, even though she was a political reporter and he was then a presidential candidate she had written about. She loved his eyes, blue as the flame. She loved that the sight of something as trivial as a rose could move him to tears. She loved his insatiable appetites and his particular complications and particular darkness. But she said, I love you only after he said it first. He called her Livy and wrote her poems. He said he wanted her to have his baby. He promised to take a bullet for her. That was Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a serial philanderer who's probably paid for more abortions than the entire U.S. cabinet combined since George Washington. Olivia Nuzzi, she's got her book out, and she's in her jeans, and she's got her blonde hair, and she's walking alone on the beach, and they've got the glamorous black and white photos of her. The media is rehabilitating a woman who serially slept with sources. Turns out she was also having a fling with Mark Sanford in 2020 when she was covering him on the campaign trail. The media does exactly what Epstein's gang did to Epstein's other gang. They propped each other up. They rehabilitated each other. They helped each other out. Mary Bruce is never going to get asked a question by Caitlin Collins or CNN about why she pre-submitted a question. She's never going to have to answer the question. She's never going to be asked the question. And anyone who dares ask the question is eviscerated. Last night, I pointed out she was complicit with the Biden White House. And an entertainment reporter for a national outlet that will go nameless says, I thought you were reasonable. That's just unfair to say that about her. She's a great reporter. Great reporters do not collaborate with the Biden White House to ask softball questions. But she did. But, she asked a tough question of Donald Trump. You go, girl. Yes, queen. Yes, queen. You go, girl. These are what the Epstein perpetrators did. You look at the email correspondence. Go read the documents in the Epstein files. It was people trading favors. Jeffrey Epstein was the conduit, elevating people, getting people together so they can do their business deals, protecting each other, moving jobs. You got a scandal at this office, we'll move you over to this office where they'll protect you. It's what the wealthy did with Epstein. It's what the reporters do for themselves. It doesn't matter if you're ABC versus NBC. You're technically competitors in the same way it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat on Epstein Island. What matters is you are among the elite, and the elite will protect the elite. It's why so many people are giving up on Washington, D.C. It's why they're giving up on America. It's why the press has such terrible ratings right now. The press serve as their own protection racket, with the exception of Fox News. If you work at Fox News, you're the pariah. You're the guy they all scapegoat so they can say, see, we hold the press accountable. Look at Fox News. They never do it about MSNBC. You got Chris Matthews out there. He was on with my buddy Leland Vittert at the new pariah network News Nation. Why? Because News Nation is starting to eat into the ratings of CNN and MSNBC by being far more fair and far more balanced than any of them. And Leland Vittert had on Chris Matthews. By the way, I was supposed to be on the program. I got bumped because of all the breaking news, which I actually was happy about because I got to go to bed early. But this is Chris Matthews.
What do you think now? Can the Democratic Party that now has to cater to MS now, that is the audition to be in the Democratic Party and a national figure in the Democratic Party, if you have the people at MS now who are there?
Clearly, that's a problem. Clearly, if you play to them, you're going to lose the general election, probably, unless you have a very blue district or state. This is a problem. And I look at them lining up, and when they make these statements, I go, that's for MSNBC. That's not for the electorate. And that's a problem. But I'm a moderate, so I disagree with those people. I'm not a Bernie Sanders guy. I'm just not. But Bernie Sanders would say, same thing. Go with the left in the primary and go to the left in the general. But I'd ask you, when does the left ever win a general? It's very rare.
Yes, it's very rare. And yet you got MSNBC. But Brian Stelter at CNN gets priapism when he talks about MSNBC. I think he was auditioning for a job there before they brought him back to CNN. He did all this fawning coverage about MSNBC during the Biden and just how fair and balanced it was. And then he got back at CNN. But he'll question Fox. He never questions MSNBC. It is the Epstein Island racket of journalists. They protect each other. They circle the wagons around each other. They never ask each other tough questions, and they excuse the excesses of each other. And you've got these people covering now the Jeffrey Epstein story, and they're excusing the excesses of the Democrats, allowing them to come on CNN where they're supposedly asked tough questions, and then they can deny the truth, and they never get pushback. All they do is absolve each other of each other's sins. And you know what? I think that the public, the American public, the ratings clearly show it. They've kind of had enough of this sort of nonsense out there. And the public is, I suspect, going to continue more and more to turn on the American press because the American press has turned on the truth. Guys, if you struggle to come up with gifts for family members, I got a suggestion for you, the Cove Pure. I love mine. I wasn't sure I would like it as much as I do, and I really, really, really do. What is a Cove Pure? Well, it's an water filtration system. It's on the countertop. You can get cold water. You can get hot water. It even has a bottle button, so you can get the warm bottle perfect for formula for your baby at night. It's really easy. It's so convenient. I use it all the time in my office. You will love it. It sits on the countertop. It uses reverse osmosis. It gets rid of pharmaceuticals, fluoride, lead, arsenic. It's the purest water you can get. It tastes fantastic. If you're looking for a great gift for your loved ones or for yourself that they're actually going to use the Cove Pure. I partnered with them. They're giving you a $250 holiday discount with my link, covepure.com/Eric. That's covepure.com/Eric, ERICK. You get $250 off, covepure.com/Eric. The sale is going to end, so take advantage of this $250 holiday discount, covepure.com/Eric. Hello, America. It is Eric Erickson here. We are 2 weeks from the end of hurricane season, and we have had virtually no hurricanes, and we haven't actually had any hurricanes really make U.S. landfall. There have been, in fact, 0 hurricanes in the Gulf and 0 hurricanes making landfall from the Gulf of Mexico or really from anywhere. I think even the hurricanes are scared of Donald Trump. And now that it's the Gulf of America, they're scared of they're afraid they might get deported. They saw what we did to Obregón Garcia, and the hurricanes don't want to wind up in a prison in El Salvador. So they're like, we'll go attack London instead. And they're sailing across the Atlantic to jolly old England where they can join up with the Islamic mobs. We have not had hurricanes in this country this year. There have been 0 Gulf hurricanes. We were predicted to get a significant number of hurricanes this year. And all the predictions fell apart. Remember, not only were we predicted to get a lot of hurricanes, they were going to be epic disasters because of Donald Trump and FEMA, and everyone was going to die. And instead, he changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and threatened mass deportation, and the hurricanes decided they needed to go elsewhere. How does the man keep winning? How indeed. You can win with Swiss America. They can help you with your retirement and protect you from the secret war on cash. They want to tell you how. All you have to do is get their free report, The Secret War on Cash. It takes less than 15 minutes to read. What you do is you go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK, and you sign up with Swiss America, and they will get you their report completely free. You can also call them. If you want to talk to a live human being, you call them at 800-289-2646 and tell them Eric Erickson sent you. And guess what? They'll get you the report. Or you can just text me. If you don't want to talk to a human being like me, I don't want to talk to people. If you just text ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646, Swiss America will send you back a link. You click the link, you follow it, you get your information. The report takes less than 15 minutes to read. The secret war on cash includes the government coming after your crypto, trying to steer you towards plastic so they can monitor your purchases. Call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646 or go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Message and data rates may apply. Hello, welcome. It is Eric Erickson. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, there is a piece. It's in the Atlantic, and we've got it linked in the show notes, a recipe for idiocracy. Just listen to some of this. 5 years ago, about 30 incoming freshmen at UC San Diego arrived with math skills below high school level. Now, according to a recent report from UC San Diego faculty and administrators, the number is more than 900. And most of those students don't fully meet middle school math standards. Many students struggle with fractions and simple algebra problems. Last year, the university, which admits fewer than 30% of undergraduate applicants, launched a remedial math course that focuses entirely on concepts taught in elementary and middle school. According to the report, more than 60% of students who took the previous version of the course couldn't divide a fraction by 2. One of the course's tutors notes that students faced more issues with logical thinking than with math facts per se. They didn't know how to begin solving word problems. The university's problems are extreme, but they're not unique. Over the past 5 years, all the other University of California campuses, including Berkeley and UCLA, have seen the number of first years who are unprepared for pre-calculus double or triple. George Mason University in Virginia revamped its remedial math summer program in 2023 after students began arriving at their calculus course unable to do even algebra. We call it quantitative literacy, just knowing which fraction is larger or smaller, that the slope is positive when it's going up. Things like that are just kind of in our bones when we're college ready. We're seeing many folks without that capability. Part of what's happening here is that more students choose STEM majors. More of them are being funneled into introductory math courses during their freshman year. But the national trend is clear. American students are getting much worse at math. The decline started a decade ago and accelerated during the pandemic. The average 8th grader's math skills, which rose steadily from 1990 to 2013, are now a full school year behind where they were in 2013. On the one hand, this means that math scores are close to what they were in the 1970s, hardly the dark ages. On the other hand, losing 50 years worth of math education progress is a clear disaster. How did it happen? One theory is that the attention-shredding influence of phones and social media is to blame. The dip in math scores coincides with the widespread adoption of smartphones. By 2015, nearly 3/4 of high school-aged kids had access to one. A related possibility is that technology is making students complacent. Emiliana Neko told me that students are not just engaged in math classes anymore. They seem to believe they don't need to learn math because they can use AI instead. Or maybe students have stopped achieving math because schools stopped demanding it. During the Bush administration, federal policy emphasized accountability for public schools. Schools that saw poor performance on standardized tests received increased funding at first, but if scores didn't improve, they had their funding pulled. Research suggests this helped improve math outcomes, particularly for poor black students. After 2015, however, the federal government backed off its accountability measures, which faced bipartisan criticism. Some teachers' unions and progressive parents wanted less emphasis on standardized tests. Conservatives wanted the federal government to remove itself from education policy. Many schools across the country have shifted towards making math engaging for students at the expense of evidence-based teaching practices. And due to funding shortages or misguided efforts to improve equity, many students are held back from taking the hardest math classes. You know what ultimately is boiling down here is like University of California, San Diego stopped doing standardized tests to admit students. They wanted a more diverse student population, so they admitted students who weren't ready for college because it gave them more diversity. But in the classrooms, the high school campuses and the like, They valued indoctrination over education, and teachers' unions are roughly to blame. Consider just literacy. I've talked about this a lot. You are now better educated in Mississippi. You have a higher chance of being literate graduating high school if you're poor and black in Mississippi than in California. In fact, for those of you listening in the state of Georgia, where my flagship station is, Mississippi and, wait for it, oh, y'all may not be ready for this one in Georgia. This one might hit you too hard. Father, forgive me. Alabama and Mississippi run circles around the state of Georgia in literacy. In fact, the Washington Post has up this chart where you can find places to live and whatnot around the country. What I find really funny is in our search for the best place for raising children, we gather data from every county in the United States across 4 metrics: affordability, quality of education, neighborhood safety, and state policies on abortion, access, parental leave, and LGBTQ rights. Of course, the Washington Post would do that. Regardless of those last ones, you can pull up this map of areas of the country and you can kind of zoom in. And what you find is that education quality around Mississippi, for example, outmatches most of Georgia. And education quality in Alabama is comparable to, except on literacy, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Tennessee run circles around the state of Georgia because they adopted a phonics-based program that was science-based. They trained the teachers and they hold the teachers accountable. And you could do the same in math, hold the teachers accountable. But too many states required diversity training, and too many states, not Georgia, by the way, Georgia just falling behind Alabama and Mississippi on reading. I mean, Georgians used to make jokes about Mississippi and Alabama not being able to read anything other than football plays. And now the football players coming out of Mississippi and Alabama can read better than the Georgia students. Problem here is this. A lot of people on the left and a growing number on the right actually hate the United States. I want you to meet Abercrombie. Abercrombie is running for the New York State Assembly, and she is running for Zoran Mamdani's seat. He actually endorsed her. Kobe, I know what this says. I've got the transcript, but in case there's a word she says that's not in the transcript, we should be careful here because I read the transcript, didn't listen to the audio. But this is Abercrombie, who is running for the New York State Assembly from Queens. I want you to listen to this woman and tell me what you hear.
And finding that, the system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory. And we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when people are asking us to respond about, attack, right, if you look back, historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right, and a lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for a terror attack that a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that I kind of find reprehensible.
Really? So she actually moved to New York City last year after earning a master's degree in Islamic liberation theology from a university in South Africa, and is now being advanced to the New York State Assembly. But hey, here's the thing. That's the progressive left. The regressive right is on the same way. There's a guy out there who's funded a Christian movement in this country. They're advancing Christian nationalism, and he laments a post-war liberal consensus. Now, what he means is liberal by political liberals. What the term actually means is post-war liberal consensus is liberal versus illiberal. The American way versus the Nazis and the commies. And you've got these guys on the right. They're kind of like they're like the transgender movement of the right. They're trans conservatives. They call themselves conservatives because they're pro-life, but they're otherwise they hate America just like this person does. And nobody on the right wants to call them out for hating America. They hate the post-war liberal consensus, which was to put the United States in charge of the free world. Why? Because they think the United States is the center of all bad things, just like these progressives do. The regressive right, the trans conservatives, you got the progressive left supporting the transgendered people. They're the same people in the horseshoe. They've met together on the left and the right. They fundamentally hate the idea of the United States, the land of the free and the home of the brave. And they masquerade as they're so patriotic, we're going to take America back. Hey, you notice that, by the way, the trans conservatives want to take the United States back to 1950. When black people struggled to vote, that they hate the post-war liberal consensus. But last I checked, World War II ended in 1945, and yet they only want to take the country back to the 1950s to stop black people from voting. Funny how that works, isn't it? They were perfectly fine with the post-war liberal consensus until Jim Crow went away. The trans-conservative movement. They're pro-life socialists. You've got this woman who blames America for 9/11 and says it's our system of capitalism, racism, white supremacy, and Islamophobia. And on the right, you got to say, oh, well, you got drag queens going to story. Is that still a thing, by the way? I assume it is, but I mean, it's not. It's never been quite as big as some people made it out to be. Certainly in certain urban areas, as people reacted to the right, they decided to push back and do stupid stuff like that. All these people fundamentally hate America, whether it's the trans conservatives or the progressives on the left. They're a bunch of socialists who want to use the government as a tool for their own power, to wield the power in their image and go after anyone who disagrees with them. A lot of the trans conservatives, they go to church. They think of themselves as Christians. They're some of the most offensive people out there. I mean, instead of loving your neighbor, they want to beat them over the head and demand their conversion. I mean, they confuse themselves for being God's sovereignty. And on the left, they don't believe in God, and they don't believe in America. It's the same group of people. Malcontents. The difference is that on the right, we don't really elevate them very far. On the left, they're trying to advance them into elected office. On the left, Zoran Mamdani wants a woman to replace him in the New York State Assembly who believes 9/11 was a self-inflicted wound by the United States of America. Of course he does. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, the people who prattle on about how bad the post-war liberal consensus was and about how legitimate the 1619 Project is are the same group of America haters that we've been dealing with for quite a while, and we need to shut them all down. They fundamentally hate you and this country, and they wish to lord over you in some capacity. They're regressive on the right. They're progressive on the left. They all want to roll this country back and destroy it. And they've gotten into our schools, particularly on the left, and they've destroyed kids' ability to do math. They've destroyed an incentive structure and an accountability structure where we were getting real results in this country. And I would note it was 2015 when the Department of Education rolled back accountability. That was Barack Obama. That wasn't George W. Bush. And that's the moment a lot of people say math scores started declining. Kim, let me go to you before I go to commercial break. Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show. Kim, how are you?
Hi, how are you today, Eric? I'm great.
Great. What's going on?
Well, I wanted to make a comment about your discussion of math education in this country. I have been a former teacher for 25 years, and now I'm a grandmother watching my grandchildren go through school. And I can tell you the one thing I have noticed, and this is tragic, there is absolutely no emphasis anymore on memorization. They have just left that at the door and had the kids, make their best guesses and told them that they're right. I have also, at one point in my career, been a department head and have seen the decline in the quality of math teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know, I can't say for sure where the problem originated because the teachers I'm looking at are significantly less old as myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to sit there a lot of times and try to exercise patience. But internally, I'm consistently rolling my eyes at these people saying, where did you get this? What are you doing? And you're not only losing me in the discussion, but you're losing every student in that class.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And it's such a deep frustration to me to encounter the problems, particularly on basic memorization. So, my kid goes to a classical Christian school, and memorization is kind of a core component of the elementary school. You've got to you got to memorize all sorts of it, down to like memorizing your multiplication tables. I was stunned to learn that memorizing multiplication tables is less of a thing these days in a lot of public schools. That in Georgia we still do it, but in some schools they've transitioned so far into Common Core and just memorizing the multiplication tables is downplayed in schools. That actually kind of floored me. I was not expecting to hear that, because I remember when I was in third grade, I had to sit in front of it was an actual record player and sing this song over and over again on how to do the multiplication tables, and it's 2 times 2 and 2 times 4 and 2 times 8 and on it went, and you read more and more. You quote. One time I had to stay in from recess because the 8 times 8 or whatever, the 8s, I couldn't memorize them. Had a hard time with the 8s and had to give up recess until I could sing 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is whatever, and on it went. It was wild. And now kids don't have to do any of that sort of stuff. They got it easy. Hello, my friends. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. A special word for all of you here. We're closing out the Hungry for a Day fundraiser. Thanksgiving is a week from tomorrow. The food pantries and soup kitchens have to begin stocking up this week. We're running a little bit behind last year. Any help you can give would be appreciated. If you text the word donate to 33777, if you can do $40, you will be providing a meal for a family of 4. If you can only do 20, you're at least taking care of 2 people. $10 takes care of a person. If you text donate to 33777, I'll send you back the link, or just go to Eric, ERICK, Thanksgiving. It's not Eric's, just Eric, ericthanksgiving.com, and help if you can. Vision Computers would love to help you with your computer. If you're building a new computer, here's the thing. You can go to the one-size-fits-all big box electronic store. You know what I'm talking about. You can buy the computer they have on the floor, and it's not set for you. It's just set for a general person, and you're not a general person. You're you. If you go to Vision Computers, they'll build you your computer, not the computer for everybody, but for you. It'll meet your needs. You call them at 404-COMPUTER. Go to visioncomputers.com. Parents, if you're looking for a holiday gift for your kids, they want a gaming PC, they need a new laptop for college or something, reach out to Vision today. Call them at 404-COMPUTE. Tell them Eric sent you. You might save some money. Go to visioncomputers.com. And by the way, their world-class tech support comes free with the computer.